Hi, have you heard the phrase as quiet as a mouse? How about you are my sunshine? These are types of figurative language. Figurative language has a different and a special meaning that is different from what it literally says. Confused? Don't be. We will use lots of examples a day to show you. Look at this sentence. Zainab entered the room as quiet as a mouse. Notice that the first phrase I showed you was underlined. One thing we know about a mouse is that it is quiet. It doesn't want to be noticed and caught, right? This sentence is not saying that Zainab is a mouse. Instead, it is pointing out that Zainab entered the room very quietly. Using the phrase as quiet as a mouse is really making the point that Zainab is being very quiet. Okay, now look at this sentence. You always make me happy. You are my sunshine. This is not saying that you are a ball of fire out in space. It is saying that you have made me happy like sunshine makes me happy. Right? So using figurative language is a creative way to describe people, places and things. It makes the reading a lot more fun and interesting. So figurative language is language that's intended to create an image, association or other effects in the mind of the listener or reader that goes beyond the literal meaning or expected use of the words involved. Right? You can also call figures of speech. I will explain again. Please listen very carefully. Figures of speech are just like ornaments of the language. The use of the figure of speech is of course a deviation of the ordinary course of expression or ideas. This deviation or a change, is done deliberately to produce a good effect. Okay, now we will discuss the types of figurative language. While there are many types of figurative language, in this video we are going to focus on simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, onomatopoeia, antithesis, epigram, metonymy, climax. Next we have irony, tons. Okay. Next, tautology. Now we will discuss one by one. Number one, simile. In this figure of speech, a comparison is made between two direct kinds of objects. But both the objects have at least one point common in them. We can easily recognize simile because of the use of words so, as, like, etc. So in simile, comparing two things using like or as. For example, as brave as a lion. Her smile is bright like the sun. Some other similes include the girl is as timid as a mouse. The girl and a mouse. Next example, your touch is as cool as cucumber. She runs fast like a deer. The dead body became so stiff as a log of wood. Fortune is said to be a wheel. Sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. Like the army defeated, the snow hath retreated. After melting snow, ran down as if any army goes back after defeated. You might also have heard this simile. She is as sweet as sugar. What does this mean? Does the girl actually taste sweet? No. This simile helps the reader understand the girl's sweet personality and how kind she is. Number two, metaphor. Here likeness between two objects is not stated directly. Taking for granted two objects or things to be one, other object's name is stated. Right? You can say It is the direct comparison of two unlikely things. For example, raining cats and dogs. He has a heart of gold. Right? Okay, let's go through some more examples. The ship of desert is coming. Ship of desert means camel. Okay, next example. इसमें मुझे मसूद रुमानी का शेर याद आ गया। खुदा के शेर को देखा जो रन में, लहू जम सा गया दुश्मन के तन में। स्टूडेंट्स, इस शेर में किसकी तरफ इशारा दिया गया है? इसमें खुदा का शेर जब रन में आया तो मतलब बहादुरी और रौब की वजह से दुश्मनों पर ऐसी हैबत और दहशत तारी हुई थी कि उनके जिस्म के अंदर खून जम गया था। यहाँ जिस शख्स की बहादुरी का जिक्र किया गया है उसका कोई अता पता, कोई नाम नहीं है, ठीक है। यानी उसकी खूबी, उसकी बहादुरी की वजह से उसको शेर कहा गया है। असल में ये इस्तारा यूज़ किया है, मेटाफोरिक एक्सप्रेशन है, हज़रत इमाम हुसैन रज़ी अल्लाह तआला अन्हु के लिए यूज़ किया गया है, ठीक है। सो द एग्जाम्पल हियर इज़ द आर्मी ऑफ यजीद वॉज फ्राइटेंड टू सी द लाइन इन द बैटल ऑफ फील्ड। The army of Yazid was frightened to see the lion in the battlefield. So the lion is, yes, metaphoric expression है, Hazrat Imam Hussain रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु. Okay. Next we have personification. Giving human qualities to non-human objects. ये आप person से याद कर लें, right? For example, the flowers danced in the wind. Uses personification to give the flowers the human quality of being able to dance. This creates an image in the reader's mind of flowers moving about gently in the blowing breeze as though they are dancing. Another example of personification is the last piece of cake is calling me. The cake is not really calling out someone's name, but this personification of the cake emphasizes that the last piece of cake is very tempting. Okay, next we have hyperbole. It is an exaggerated phrase, right? For example, I could eat a whole cow. So it's an extreme exaggeration. It's a crazy exaggeration. आप कोई पूरी काऊ भी नहीं खा सकता, ठीक है। तो ये एक exaggerated phrase है। Next example, I walked a million miles to get here. I mean, there is no way they walked literally a million miles, but this does tell us that they felt that they walked a really long way. Next example of hyperbole is in my mind, I'm starving to death. Okay, so it is an extreme exaggeration here. Number 5, onomatopoeia. In onomatopoeia, words are used to imitate sounds. For example, bees buzzed through the air. Or another example is the door shut with a loud bang or clang. Next we have antithesis. A striking contrast of words in the same sentence or poetry line is called antithesis. For example, धूप और छाँव से कुछ फ़र्क नहीं है सागिर, हमने हर हाल में जीने का हुनर सीखा है। अब आप देख लें इस शेर में जो धूप और छाँव है ये दोनों एक दूसरे के अपोजिट हैं, राइट। ओके, नाउ लेट्स गो थ्रू सम मोर एग्जांपल्स। नंबर 1, मैन प्रपोजेज गॉड डिस्पोजेज। अब मैन एंड गॉड ये दोनों कंट्रास्ट ऑफ वर्ड्स हैं। नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल, I love thorns and flowers equally. Thorns and flowers. Okay, more examples of antithesis include poor and rich all are equal before Allah. Poor and rich ये दोनों opposite हैं, तो ये फिर antithesis होंगे। Next example, many are called but few are chosen. Many and few ये दोनों opposite होंगे, right? Next we have epigram. It is a brief and pointed sayings. It is used to attract the attention of readers or listeners. For example, man is a social animal. And there are a lot more examples. Child is father of man. and fools thinks after he does something, while wise thinks before he does something. Next example comes in my mind. Students, I'm not going to write, just listen very carefully. So please pay close attention. Beauty is to see only and not to touch. Honor is a glass jar. It is easy to earn but difficult to save. Number 8. Metonymy. Metonymy means a change of name. When we use a different word corresponding to a thing in place of that thing is called metonymy. It is a symbolic only, right? Symbol के तौर पे आप यूज़ करेंगे. For example, you must speak to the chair. अब the chair means chairman, ठीक है? तो you must speak to the chair. क्या आपको चेयरमैन से बात करनी चाहिए. Next example, from cradle to grave, life is full of struggle. From cradle to grave, life is full of struggle. इस सेंटेंस में पैदाइश के लिए क्रेडल और डेथ के लिए ग्रेव, ये दोनों बातें इलामत के तौर पे इस्तेमाल हुई हैं, ठीक है? तो ये मेट्रोनोमी हो गई. नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल, द प्रोसेस ऑफ एजुकेशन गोज फ्रॉम वॉर्म टू टॉम. इस सेंटेंस में भी पैदाइश के लिए वॉर्म और डेथ के लिए जो टॉम यूज़ हुआ है वो इलामत के तौर पर ही हुआ है, यानी कि सिंबल है. नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल, पेन इज़ माइटियर देन सॉर्ड. यानी जो लिखने की ताकत है उसके लिए पेन, और जो जंग जदल लड़ाई झगड़े के लिए सॉर्ड यानी तलवार जो है वो भी इलामत के तौर पे यूज़ हुआ है. नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल कम्स इन माई माइंड, माई एयरी बस गोज़ डाउन एंड डाउन. एयरी बस जो है वो सिंबल के तौर पर, ये सिंबॉलिक एक्सप्रेशन है, उसके तौर पे यूज़ हुआ है, यानी साइकिल को कहा है. नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल, हैव यू रीड हाफिज़. यानी हाफिज़ का कलाम पढ़ा है. हाफिज़ के कलाम के लिए भी हाफिज़ बतौर अलामत ही आया है. ओके, नेक्स्ट वी हैव क्लाइमैक्स. द आइडिया इन इंक्रीजिंग इम्पोर्टेंस इज कॉल्ड क्लाइमैक्स. Here the sense rises into what is more and more important and impressive. For example, he came, he saw, he conquered. Here the climax is conquered. Okay. Next example, I saw her, she smiled, and I fell in her love. So fell in her love is climax here. Next example, he started a small shop of chili powder and now he is a big merchant. Next we have irony. It means tons. When we say one thing but mean just the opposite, it is irony. In other words, we can say irony is the use of words, the natural meaning of which is just the opposite of what is intended to be expressed. For example, you are very kind, you always help me. ये यानी बात उस शख्स से की जा रही हो जो कभी भी मदद नहीं करता बल्कि हमेशा ही टाल मटोल करता हो. नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल, सईद इज़ द बेस्ट सिंगर ऑफ आवर विलेज. इसमें भी आयरनी लाई करती है बिकॉज सईद की आवाज़ अच्छी नहीं है, तो उसको फिर आप आयरनिक बिहेवियर में कहेंगे कि सईद इज़ द बेस्ट सिंगर ऑफ आवर विलेज. ओके. Next, what a tasty food. If the food item is not going to be tasty, then you can say what a tasty food. तो इसमें फिर आयरनी लाइक करती है आपके बिहेवियर में. लो, द स्कॉलर इज़ कमिंग. अगर बिल्कुल कोई इंसान बिल्कुल भी पढ़ा हुआ नहीं है तो आप कहेंगे स्कॉलर इज़ कमिंग. नंबर 11, टोटोलॉजी. द अननेसेसरी यूज ऑफ वर्ड्स हैविंग सेम मीनिंग टू एक्सप्रेस द सेम आइडिया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, सब तुम्हारे मुंतज़िर हैं देर से. फूल, खुशबू, चांदनी, सागिर, शराब. There are a lot more examples here. Number 1, he lives in a lonely isolation. Lonely and isolation. These are tautologies. Okay, वो अकेला तन्हाई में रहता है. Number 2, it was a very vivid, glaring and striking scene. Vivid, glaring and striking. Okay. Next example, I'm not going to write, just listen very carefully. It is not wise to waste our time uselessly. to waste uselessly. These are tautologies here. Friends, that brings us to the end of this video in figurative language. Hopefully you can now identify the types we have explored in the things you read in What People Say. But there is no harm in doing a quick recap. So let's take a quick recap. What is figurative language? Figurative language is language that's intended to create an image, association, or other effects in the mind of the listener or reader that goes beyond the literal meaning or expected use of the words involved. So how many types are there? Simile, comparing two things using like or as. Metaphor, the direct comparison of two unlikely things. Personification, giving human qualities to non-human objects. Hyperbole, an exaggerated phrase. Onomatopoeia, words are used to imitate sounds. Antithesis, a striking contrast of words in the same sentence or poetry line. Epigram, a brief and pointed sayings. Metonymy, it is a symbole only. Climax, the idea in increasing importance. Irony means opposite. Tautology, the unnecessary use of words having same meaning to express the same idea. Thank you so much for watching this video.